Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in the second part of this video series where we are covering Saturn retrograde for all the ascendants or the moon signs. Okay, if you haven't watched the first part, please go back and watch the first part before you watch this part, right? And Saturn is already retrograde as we speak. And this is a time where Saturn is going to force to recalibrate our desires. It will force to recalibrate our goals, and you know it is going to cause issues in the house where it is retrograding. Obviously it is retrograding in the sign of Pisces, but it'll the house number or the house in which Pisces falls in your horoscope is going to determine how crucial this period is going to be. Okay, so in the last video, we covered from Aries ascendant or moon till Libra ascendant or to Virgo ascendant or moon. And in today's video, we will be covering the Libra sign, Libra moon or Libra ascendant. And again, for Libra, Saturn becomes a Yoga Karaka, just like Taurus. Okay. And for Libra natives, Saturn is going retrograde in the sixth house, which is the house of, your health, your vitality. It's the health of your debts, your service. It is also the health of your daily work, the routine, as well as your legal matters. It's also the house of your of your subordinates and servants. Okay, so as I said, Saturn is a Yoga Karaka for Libra, and this why? Because it rules the fourth house of comfort, motherly love, home, emotional peace, as well as the fifth house of Purva Punya, success, creativity, as well as future prospects. Okay, so because Saturn is retrograding in the sixth house, so you have to grow through hard work. This period is going to bring you growth if you work hard, and if you serve others selflessly, then you are going to attract a lot of blessings. Okay, because retrogression is all about working consciously with the energies of the planets, right? So because it's retrograding in the sixth house, so some old health issues may resurface, and this is a time to actually solve those issues rather than ignoring them. Okay, and it's very important that you adopt a you bring about a lifestyle change. You start exercising. If you are not exercising already, you change your food habits, you change your sleep, because sixth house is the house of routine. And also you should actually get a routine health checkup done, because obviously prevention is much better than cure. If you want to rethink regarding your health insurance, then this is the time to do it, right? And as I mentioned, sixth house is also the house of your colleagues, your subordinates, as well as your competition. So if you're having misunderstandings with people in your workplace, then this is the time to clean up those misunderstandings and rebuild your professional relationships. Okay. Sixth house is also the house of seva, but then this service has to be selfless. Even if you can do some small acts of charity or volunteering, it is going to bring you the blessings of Saturn. And it can be anything. It can be helping the underprivileged, or contributing food, contributing money. Even caring for animals is one form of service which you can do. Okay, and because Saturn rules your fifth house, so you have to let go of your emotional baggage. You have to let go of your self-destructive emotional patterns which can cause you harm, right? And as I said, Saturn looks at long-term growth. Okay, so you have to replace your old habits with new ones, with habits that will bring long-term balance and strength, right? And the Saturn is because Saturn is retrograding in the sixth house, it is directly aspecting the 12th house. Okay, so if you can do some kind of seva in ashrams, or in hospitals, or in morgues, even in confinement centers, then Saturn is going to bring you a lot of blessings. Okay, so this is a period where your growth is meant to be slow, steady, and meaningful. And obviously, you have to imbibe the Saturnian qualities of discipline, of dedication, and a service mindset. Okay, and if you do that, then you will come out of this period as a healthier and wiser human being. Okay, now coming to the sign of Scorpio. Remember, Scorpio is ruled by Mars, okay, which is inimical to Saturn. right? And this retrograde transit is happening in your fifth house of Pisces, which is the house of children, which is the house of creativity, purva punya, romance, and mantras. Okay, and Saturn becomes your third and fourth lord, so it also shares a very inimical relationship with the Lagna Lord Mars. So for Scorpio, unlike Aries, Saturn is a neutral planet, but no matter how neutral it is still the most karmic planet in the chart. And as I said, retrogression is a call for reflection as well as internal transformation, right? So this is a time to unblock your creativity. Okay, you may have been going through a period of creative stagnation, but this is a time to channel your energy into new projects, to express yourself creatively, to express your creativity, that is. But, being creative does not mean you can take rash decisions. You have to be patient. You have to be hardworking in order to reap benefits, okay, of this period. And because Saturn is retrograding in your fifth house, so this cold influence of Saturn may bring some emotional distance with your loved ones or even with your children. Okay, so it's very important that you reconnect with your loved ones, you heal your loved ones, and transform these bonds with care and maturity. Right, and it's very important because Saturn is cold and dry, so it's very important to keep your inner child alive. And you can do that by following your passions. You can do that by taking up your old hobbies or reigniting old hobbies and taking up new hobbies or engaging in joyful pursuits, right? And again, this is a very, very good time to read scriptures, to start any spiritual practice, to start any mantra based spiritual practice, which is going to bring you a lot of benefit. Okay. Now for Sagittarius Lagna or moon sign, Saturn is going to retrograde in your fourth house, which is the house of your emotional security, your home, your happiness, as well as your inner peace, right? So for Sagittarius, Saturn is the second and the third lord, but your fourth house is your emotional anchor. So this is a time where Saturn is asking you to go for a deep emotional detox. Okay, you have to ensure that your inner stability remains intact. Okay, and remember, when it comes to inner stability, a lot of it also depends on your outer environment. So it's very important that you declutter your environment, you keep it clean and disciplined, right? You make sure that your home is clean and clutter free, because cluttering your home may block your progress, right? But if you are cleaning your home, if you are dusting your home regularly, then it actually aligns you with Saturn's blessings. Okay, the fourth house also represents vehicles. So if your vehicle requires some urgent repair or maintenance, this is the time to do it. And you might find that you have become emotionally distant to your family, especially your mother. So you have to work on becoming more approachable, maintaining a stoic silence where necessary. And more importantly, you have to become better at listening and emotionally available for your family members, right? Now, if you have some unresolved matters related to land, to real estate, then this is the time to take certain slow decisions. And this is also the time to strengthen your foundations. Okay, maybe you can start learning a new skill, or because Saturn is casting a strong aspect on the 10th house of your career, maybe that new skill is going to help you progress in your career ladder. Okay, so you have to start focusing on learning new things. You also have to reevaluate. You might have to reevaluate certain professional decisions and avoid workplace conflicts as much as possible. Okay. Now, coming to Capricorn. So Capricorn, Lagna or moon sign, Saturn is your Lagna lord, right? And in this transit, Saturn is moving through the third house of Pisces. So this is a time to take new initiatives, to take new beginnings, because Saturn rules your first house as well as the second house of family, food, finances, and speech. So when Saturn is going retrograde, it is actually impacting your parakrama, because third house is the house of parakrama. It is also impacting your desire, your communication skills, and also your, it is also going to lead to certain short distance travels, because it is directly aspecting the ninth house. It means you can actually take some short distance travels that can be called as pilgrimages, short pilgrimages. Okay. So third house is also the house of communication and speech. So you have to slow down, you have to reflect and speak whenever necessary with a lot of clarity. Okay. Don't speak unless and until it is necessary, because Saturn represents the minimalistic attitude. Okay. So make your speech minimal. you may find yourself or your words becoming a little cold or distant, but that is not something to be worried about. It actually is a call to recalibrate about what you share with the world around you. Okay. And this is also the time to restructure your daily habits. You must drop whatever no longer is required, because Saturn also represents the stoppage of things, right? And third house is also the house of your siblings. Third house is also the house of your cousins. So if you have gone into some kind of conflict with your siblings or cousins, or if some emotional distance has built up with your siblings, then it is the time to rebuild those bridges. Okay. And remember, with some amount of effort, you can actually heal certain karmic patterns. Okay. So Saturn also represents this change, change in fortunes, change in destiny. So if you have resisted changing earlier, now this is the time to take things slow and steady. Okay, as I said, the third house is the house of short distance travels. The ninth house is the house of spiritual journeys. So you should consider short spiritual journeys or solo trips, which will actually help you to recalibrate your wants and desires. Okay, Saturn is also the planet of new beginnings, but then you need to have strong foundations while trying to make new beginnings. Okay, so the advice would be to avoid rushing, to focus on disciplined efforts, because Saturn brings results very slowly, but they will be long lasting no matter what. Right now, you also need to, you also might be questioning your value system, because Saturn is looking directly at the ninth house. So if that happens, then, you must seek guidance from a mentor, from a spiritual guide, or maybe you can get an astrology consultation as well. So this is a great time for journaling, because the third house also represents hands. So if you find yourself or your thinking to be muddled up, please write, please start journaling your thoughts. Please start writing about your family, maybe your finances, food, and beliefs, because that is going to really, really help strengthen Saturn's energy in this transit. Okay. Now, coming to Aquarius, Saturn is retrograding in your second house of finances. Okay. Remember, Saturn is your Lagna Lord, which rules the first house of self and vitality, and also the 12th house, you know, representing liberation, higher consciousness, and losses, right? So, in this retrogression period, it is going to influence your life direction, your spiritual growth, and financial stability, right? And, the second house, obviously, it represents the Dhana Bhava, which is the house of accumulated wealth, family values, as well as your speech, food habits, and nourishment. Okay, so it is very, very important that you reevaluate your speech and your communication style. You must bring kindness, humility, and grace back into your words. And you also have to ensure that you speak with a lot of integrity and respect, because Saturn represents that integrity. Okay. Now, because Saturn also rules the 12th house of expenses and losses, so you must understand that it is time for you to cut unnecessary expenditure. Maybe create a long-term savings plan, maybe invest in a long-term savings plan, and also focus on sustainable financial goals, right? And because the second house is also the house of family, so this is a period to sort out any unresolved conflicts with your family. This is a period to forgive, let go, and build meaningful connections with your family. Okay, remember, forgiveness is your greatest wealth. And Saturn is one planet that helps you to forget, right? And because Saturn also rules the first house, so this is a time to actually realize your own value. You have to reflect on your strengths and work according to your strengths, rather than identifying your weakness or being sad about your weakness. Okay. So one way to do that is maybe consider doing a personal SWOT analysis, which can be very, very deeply empowering. And as I said, this is a time to rebuild your self-worth and confidence, cut wasteful spending. And also, this is a very good time to plan for the long run. Okay. Finally, for Pisces ascendant or Pisces moon sign, Saturn is retrograding through your first house. So this is the time to reset yourself. Okay. And obviously, Saturn's retrogression in the first house is going to make you question yourself as well as your identity. It can also alter your overall life direction. So this is a rare transit which is happening. And remember, Saturn does not find itself very comfortable in the first house because it's a Maranakaran, it's a Maranakaran Sthan, which is very challenging placement, right? But then Saturn is retrograding. So, negative in such periods, negative can become positive if you know what to do, that is. And remember, Saturn rules your 11th house of gains. So, you may notice an increase in both expenditure and income because Saturn also rules the 12th house, right? So, if you have been working on a job for a long time, maybe this is one of the good times to start a side business, reassess your financial goals and also build multiple streams of income. Okay. And because Saturn is retrograding in the first house, so it is surely going to cause some kind of restructuring regarding your identity. So you have to understand who you are becoming, what boundaries you have created, and what are the habits that uplift you or drag you down. Okay. So because Saturn is a cold and matured planet, so it brings along with it wisdom. But then to understand its wisdom, you have to be humble, you have to be disciplined. Okay. So you have to be grounded, you have to stay humble and take responsibility for all your actions. Okay. And this is one good time period to build lifelong discipline. Okay, because this period is not going to come after for less than next for 30 years from now, right? And Saturn's in the first house, Saturn is directly aspecting your 7th house of relationships and partnerships. So you may find yourself some distance coming between you and your partner, but then this is a good time to support your partner's growth. Maybe have long-term goals with them, resolve old issues and also bring certain amount of stability and maturity into your relationships. Okay. So you have, as I said, you have to strengthen your self-worth slowly, steadily, and you have to create boundaries in your relationships. Remember that creating boundaries does not mean becoming, overly insensitive. Create boundaries, but you also have to stay kind so that Saturn's energies allows you to transform from within. Okay. So usually there are no remedies for a retrograde period, but nevertheless, please be very, very consistent and honest in your work. Please be truthful to yourself because these are the qualities that you must imbibe during this period of retrogression. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you have found the video useful. Like the content, share it with your friends and family if you think they will also benefit from this video. And I'll meet you soon in yet another video. Namaste. Om Gurave Namah.